Hey everyone, I'm your astrologer, Brittany of Ethereal Astrology, taking you to new heights with inspired perspectives that transcend the details. Today, you're watching your astrology horoscope for the new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Libra, which occurs on Saturday, October 14th, 2023 at 1:54 p.m. Eastern Time or 10:54 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is going on here at this new moon solar eclipse in Libra is that we are trying to step into, I think, a very different way of thinking about life and approaching our life and relationships here, in which we do more things that are more important to us as individuals here, move faster and make more things happen in our lives. But I think we are really struggling to do that, even though we want to, and really struggling to do that because we're still hesitating too much in our heads, maybe even have the wrong people in our life, or too worried about them and what they might think holding us back, that we're going to have to come to terms with now at this here new moon solar eclipse in Libra, so that we stop feeling stuck and can move forward manifesting better situations in our lives. So that's what we're going to talk about today in this video. If you would like to hear more about that, please stay tuned, because we're going to hop into that right now. And in order to get started, what I like to do first is, of course, place it on the chart here so that you can see what it is that I'm referring to here in this video and follow along with me. So let me do that now. I have adjusted this chart accordingly to that new moon solar eclipse in Libra. I know that because I see I've got both the sun and the moon here in the exact same sign at the exact same degree. And when that happens here, that is, of course, a new moon. And I know that it is an eclipse here because it is in very close proximity to the nodal axis here, and in this case, the south node. And when you get a new moon or significant lunation close to the nodal axis here, that is what is considered what makes it an eclipse. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, a new moon solar eclipse here in the sign of Libra. Hey, what is that all about? Well, let's start with what a new moon is first. New moons are the very beginning of a new lunar cycle or lunar month, and because of that, they're about new beginnings, fresh start, new energy here, or doing things in a new, different, and better way. Hey, a solar eclipse is going to superpower that and make that a very significant new beginning, new energy, fresh start, or doing things in a different way. Not just a little bit, not just any old new beginning, but a very significant and very big different approach here that is going on, or that is needed at this time. Okay. In what way or in what area of our lives are we getting this big new beginning, new energy, and very big different approach to at this time? Well, that's going to be Libra, okay, because that, of course, is where this is taking place. What is Libra all about? Well, first thing maybe I'll say is Libra is an air sign. Air signs do typically deal more with the mind and the intellect and with our mental perspective on life. So one of the things that we're getting that's new and very different at this solar eclipse in a very big way is a new perspective on life, a new way of thinking about it or putting information together here in our minds. Not only that, but Libra is also as well about balance in our lives being correlated or symbolized by the scales here, and how we balance our lives here, or maybe to put it another way, what we devote our time and attention to, and in what proportions and in what degree here that is going on. So we're also getting a very new and different way of balancing our lives, or putting our time and attention towards certain things here that's going on. Okay, not only that, but another thing that I'll say about Libra is traditionally a relationship sign here as well. That's what a lot of us think about it too. So this can also be us getting a very new approach to relationships here, or very different way of doing relationships and working with people in our lives at this time as well here that's going on. Okay, so I think those are big themes here at this new moon eclipse in Libra, a very new perspective on life, way of balancing our lives and organizing a lot of things in it, and way of dealing with relationships. Okay, now what new way is this that it is that we're getting here at this time of balancing things, thinking about things, and doing relationships? Well, I think there's a very specific new way that we're getting here that I want to mention. And I think there's a very specific new way of doing those things that we're getting, because again, this is an eclipse which is related to the nodal axis, and this one is in very close proximity to it, within 3 degrees. Okay, and The nodal axis is very interesting because the nodal axis indicates here maybe things that we need to get away from at this time, but also things that we need to cultivate more of here in order for us to move forward and that we're learning. And the node that indicates more of what we need to cultivate more of and that we're learning is really going to be the north node, which is connected to the south node, right? Because they opposite each other here. And therefore, this solar eclipse here that's happening. And the north node, again, is about our purpose and what we need to cultivate more of, and it's here in the sign of Aries. Okay, what is Aries about? Well, Aries is a marshaled sign, it's cardinal, it's fire. It's a lot about action here, doing things. And not just doing things in any old way, but doing things quicker, faster. Here, not only that, but doing things that we enjoy more, right? It's fiery, that we're passionate about, that we're excited about, that we love. Not things we have to do because we have to do them. Things we want to do because we love them and they're fun and they're exciting. Here, not only is Aries about that, but Aries is more independent here, more individual in a lot of ways. Doesn't want other people in relationships holding them back and telling them to do things they don't want to be doing here. That's going on. So what this means to me now to continue with this here is that not only at this new moon solar eclipse in Libra are we getting a very significant new way of thinking about our lives, balancing it and organizing it and dealing with relationships, but this new way of thinking about our lives, balancing it, organizing it, and dealing with relationships is one that facilitates here more action, quick action, passionate action towards the things that we value as an individual and that are important to us here, and allow us more of the freedom to pursue those things here that it is that we love and enjoy and are passionate and are going to be much better for us here as we move forward. Okay. And I think that's what I'm going to say here for now about the main themes of this solar eclipse that's going on, even though there's obviously a lot more. I'm going to add to that in a minute. Okay. That's what's happening here. Very new way of thinking, balancing our lives and approaching relationships that facilitates more quick, passionate action towards the things that we want as individuals here and that we find as fun and enjoyable and good for us. Okay, now before I move forward though, to give you more details here and explain even more about this, for those of you who've been watching me for a long time, you know that I do like to go backwards here in time for a minute before I go forwards to better give you the context of this lunation and of what's happening here, because I do believe that the context can actually change a lot about the interpretation and about what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. If you are not interested in this section because it's starting to get very long, I've put the timestamps in the description here that you should see in the chapters on the video. It's no big deal. Just go ahead and skip ahead in the video if you're not interested, and that's totally fine. But I'm going to hop into it now. And in order to give you the context of this time period, what I like to go back to is going to be in between January to about April of 2020. Okay, because something very significant happened in that between that time period, and that was Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all come in conjunct here around the middle degrees of Capricorn. Okay, that was very significant alignment because Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn don't come conjunct that often. Matter of fact, Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct about every 35 years, and that's not always with Jupiter there here. And because, of course, these planets are very significant. Not only was that a very significant alignment because it was a little rare here and involved these planets, but it was also a bit uncomfortable. Maybe I should note that as well, because Saturn and Pluto are involved, which can be a little bit harder to deal with than some of the others. And Jupiter was in Capricorn as well, a sign it doesn't really like to be in. Okay, so very significant, rare, challenging alignment that occurred during that time frame. What was a significant rare challenge that was going on? Well, I think what happened in January to April of 2020 is that we realized there's something about our lives, Saturn and Pluto, that we felt stuck in for a very long time, possibly 35 years, that we didn't like anymore, and that we wanted to make very big Jupiter permanent change, Pluto, in order to end and overcome so that we can move on into different and better experiences. Okay. Not only was it about us realizing just the realization at that time, but I think it was also about us starting to take action to end those things that we didn't like anymore and were upsetting to us so that we could eventually move forward. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, now happening about 2 years later after that, around April of 2022, which was at some point last year. Here we had a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. Okay, new moons, new beginnings, solar eclipses, superpower that Taurus is about fertility, it's about abundance, it's about life, it's about beauty. Here that was going on. So I think in April 2022, 2 years after that previous alignment, we had made enough endings in our life to get rid of stuff that we didn't like, to start to feel like we were in a different and better and more fertile environment here in our experience to create something different after this point that was going to be more in alignment with us here and with what's important to us that I thought was good. That then leads me now to the next alignment I want to mention, happening about 2 weeks after that, still around April of 2022, and that was a full moon lunar eclipse in the opposite sign here of Scorpio. Okay, now that to me was a bit more of a challenging eclipse that we had. It was a bit more challenging here because it was a full moon. Sometimes full moons can be a little bit more difficult than new moons, being a function of an opposition here, and because it was on the south node, which is a lot about things we need to let go of and end at this time, and can make us feel a little bit stuck. Okay, so I think what happened is that 2 weeks after this new beginning, new chapter of life that we felt like we were entering, we then started to feel stuck, frustrated here, and unable to move forward. That was very, very hard. Why were we feeling stuck, frustrated, and unable to move forward at that time? Well, again, it was the south node there, and the south node is about things we need to let go that aren't working for us, and it was in Scorpio. Scorpio being the things that at that time we needed to let go of that weren't working. Okay, what were the things that we maybe were holding on to that were keeping us stuck, that aren't working, that we needed to let go of? Well, Scorpio does have to do with uncomfortable emotions here, being a water sign from the past that maybe we hadn't fully healed in some kind of way. Not only is Scorpio about intense and uncomfortable emotions, it's also a sign of spending a lot of money. It's also a sign too of making a lot of changes. And it's also a sign as well of being too intertwined with relationships in a way that's not helpful. And I believe it was those habits that were keeping us stuck that were no longer useful, right? Maybe we needed those things to end an old chapter of life, but in a new experience of life, we no longer needed to intertwine with people, indulge any challenging emotions, right? Make these big changes and things like that, and spend a lot of money that was keeping us stuck, that we then started to realize that we needed to get rid of here. That's going on, okay? So that's what's happening here. In a new chapter of life, after ending a lot of things, but now stuck because we have a lot of old habits that aren't good for us that we need to get rid of. Spending too much money, too many negative emotions, too intertwined with other people, too much change. Okay, that was happening there. And that, I believe, if I can be honest, took almost all of last year to really get through our head. Took almost all of last year to really figure out what is keeping me stuck? What are these bad habits that I need to get rid of? It really wasn't until Mars finished going retrograde in the sign of Gemini for most of last year, and until January, I'm going to say January of this year, 2023, when Mercury went retrograde in that same spot that Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn came conjunct in 2020, that we finally started to figure it out, right? With Mercury, of course, being about our mindset, that we finally started to figure out here that we needed to stop indulging negative emotions, stop intertwining ourselves too much with other people, stop making too many changes here in our lives, and stop spending money. It wasn't until we realized that, and not only stop doing those things, but start slowing down, being more stable, being more secure, here saving money and focusing more on our own individual needs and interests. And because we finally realized that around January of 2023 and got that through our heads, I think also around that time we started making adjustments, right? Mercury can be about that, moves very fast. We started making adjustments within our relationships and our money and our own sense of self here to slow down, be more stable and secure, and facilitate this different experience of life that we were trying to get to in the months earlier. Hear what was going on. And because then we finally started to get through our head the proper perspective to build something new and made adjustments to facilitate that, we then, in the months after that, I think started to feel better, like we were more able to move forward into a new experience of life. Especially, I want to say, what was it, February, March? Maybe I'll say around February, sure, of this year, 2023, when we had two slower moving planets change signs. Pluto left Capricorn and moved into Aquarius, and Saturn left Aquarius and moved into Pisces. And this is a pretty big deal because when two slower moving planets change signs, which doesn't happen that often, they indicate big chapter changes in our lives to do things in a new and different way here. And with Pluto and Aquarius, to have more freedom, to build whatever life we want, and Saturn and Pisces to release the past. So because in January of 2023, do you see, we started to get it through our head, a new way of life, slow, stable, secure, and get our perspective right. We then a month or so later started to feel finally like we could go back to embarking on a new chapter in life that started to arrive around April of 2022, and to embrace more of that. Okay, that then leads me to the next alignment I want to mention, which also happened around April of this year. April of 2023, we had a new moon solar eclipse in Aries. Okay, again, new moons, new beginnings, solar eclipse is superpower. That Aries is the first sign of the zodiac about a new chapter in life and moving forward more on that. So in April of this year, we then started to feel like we're good. We're in a new experience of life. We've got the proper perspective, slow, stable, secure, not messing with people, not spending all this money, not being crazy. In a new experience, like now we can more fully move forward in it and more fully and more completely move into this new experience of life we've been trying to get to for many, many years here that was going on. Okay, and I thought that was fine. But even though that was fine, in the months after that now, we're going into May of 2023 and onwards, we started to we started to feel stuck again, and we started to feel like it was difficult for us to move into this new experience that we thought was more fully here. And we started to run into issues again because of a few things, because Mars started to go retrograde here in the sign of Leo, or at least slow down, about to go retrograde in the sign of Leo around that time. Yeah, May 2023, roughly. Okay. It started to slow down there, indicating that we were having difficulty doing things, moving forward, being happy in this experience of life here. That was a bit challenging for us yet again, making us feel stuck and unable to move forward in the way that it is that we needed. And through that stuck feeling, what I think we then started to realize a few months later, around July of 2023, Pluto, let me see if I can write it on the chart. July of 2023, Pluto retrograded back into Capricorn around there and squared the nodal axis here, which also indicated more stuckness, but not only more stuckness, but that we needed to make a choice. That's what a squared the nodes does, and a big change in our life in order to get unstuck again and start moving. And what that indicated in July about what was keeping us stuck, that we needed to make a choice to overcome, is that we were ignoring our emotions, with the opposite point of Pluto being in Cancer, is that we were ignoring our emotions in this new, different, and better experience of life here, and not honoring those, which was keeping us stuck, and that we needed to make big choices and changes to bring more of our emotions into the equation, right? Because if we're going into a better experience of life, we need our emotions to be present. Okay, so we started to make big changes in July of 2023 here to honor more of our emotions so that we could get unstuck in our lives, which I think we then started to do here, which was very, very good. But even though we started to honor more of our emotions in July of 2023 to get unstuck yet again so that we can move forward in this new experience of life, we still had trouble after bringing more of our emotions into the equation moving forward. And that was because of another alignment that happened after that. It was Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Virgo around August and September of this year. August of 2023. Okay, that was another problem because, again, it's another planet going backwards in retrograde here, which is not a direction that's natural to it. And I think the other problem that we had then with the Virgo can overwork, can overthink, can overstress. So even though we had around August started to uncover more of our emotions, which are crucial to being able to move forward in a new, different, and better life, we realized that we had another issue, which is that we were stuck in overthinking, overworking, and being too critical, which is still not conducive to forward momentum in the ways that it is that we needed. So we started working on that here since August. And I think as of the full moon the full moon in Aries 2 weeks ago, here around the very beginning of October of this year, 2023, we then started to overcome that. We then started to overcome this overworking here and the stress and all of that. But even though we were overcoming all that overwork and stress here, we still, at that full moon in Aries 2 weeks ago, were having difficulty moving forward and taking the necessary action here because we were still hesitating, still kind of holding back, still had some fear around the situation and all of that. And because we're really doing a good thing here these past few months at honoring our emotions, bringing them into the equation, letting go of stress and overworking, but still hesitating. Now we get this new moon, which is a solar eclipse in the sign of Libra, giving us a big boost of energy here to quit that, to stop hesitating, to stop holding back, and to finally just do the damn thing here, and to make more action in our lives now to this new experience of life, to this new chapter, to move things forward more quickly towards more things we like, without these old stuff and people getting in the way and bringing us down here. That's going on. Okay. And that's it, because that was a lot here. I'm now just going to repeat that very quickly here before I move forward. So let me do that. What I think is the big picture context of these past really few years here is that what's been going on recently is that we finally started to honor more of our emotions here in a new and better chapter of life, and more fully usher ourselves into it without overworking, without overstressing and all of that. But even though we finally uncovered our emotions, are feeling more ready, or are in a better place to embrace a new chapter in life, and are not overworking and stressing and being as critical, we still are having trouble moving forward into this new experience because of fear and hesitation that and other people maybe that we're worried about, that we're trying to now more fully get rid of, so that we can embrace this different experience of life that's here, trying to be here, that's going on. Okay, and that's it. Okay, because that's it, I'm now just going to move forward so that you can see more specifically now how this new moon solar eclipse is going to play out. Okay, and to give you more of the specifics now about this new moon solar eclipse, I'm just going to place it on the chart here again. So let's do that. Here's the new moon solar eclipse. The sun and the moon in Libra conjunct the south node here. Okay. What do I want to look at first? I think what I want to look at first, the first alignment, is the fact that this new moon solar eclipse here is conjunct Mercury within a few degrees here. So let's look at that. Okay. A conjunction can really indicate things that need to be done together or are being done together here in some sort of way. That's going on, right? And the new moon's in Libra, about us getting a different perspective on life, a different way of balancing things, and a different way of working with relationships, as we've previously discussed. And Mercury is a lot about our mindset and thinking about things. It's also about communication and the way that we communicate about all of this stuff as well. So not only do I want to say at this eclipse, are we internally trying to figure out here how we can get a new way of doing relationships, balance, and thinking about our lives that facilitates more action and more of our individual interests, but we're also trying to communicate about that with other people, to let other people know, hey, I'm thinking this in my life. I think I'm going to do something differently. Or to let our relationships know, hey, I think I want to honor my own individual interests, and I think I want to move faster here. Or to let other people know that we're going to arrange our lives in a different way that's going to facilitate more action here as well. I think we're really trying to get everything on the same page here to communicate about what is happening here at this time in order to bring it together that's going on and make these adjustments. Okay. So I think there's some of that. And not only do I want to mention that's going on, but I also want to mention another alignment here too that's relevant to this eclipse, because not only is it conjunct Mercury, but it also as well is in an opposition here with Chiron too. So let's draw the opposition to Chiron here at this time. Now that is a bit difficult, even though the conjunction to Mercury I thought was fine. This is a different story with the opposition to Chiron, and it's a bit of a different story here because an opposition is a little bit more of a challenging aspect, and because Chiron too can be a bit difficult, having to do with triggers, insecurities, and all of that that's going on. What is the difficult thing that is happening here? Well, Chiron is about triggers, insecurities. It's an Aries. Aries is about set action that we talked about earlier, about what we're trying to do here, right? We're trying to adjust our relationships, our perspective, the way we go about and balance our lives to be more action-oriented, more individual-oriented, more freedom to do the things that we want. And this is us feeling like it's hard to do that still, and still feeling very uncomfortable doing that, or still feeling very triggered doing that as well when it comes to us moving forward here that's going on. Okay, why are we trying to get a new perspective to life, right? Dealing with relationships, ways of going about life, more action oriented, more individual, more passionate, more forward movement. Why are we still uncomfortable with that, or struggling to fully tap into that in the way that we might need? Well, I do believe, again, that's because of all this Libra stuff, especially with Libra being on the South Node, and the South Node being not as helpful, things we need to get rid of at this time here. And the things that aren't helpful with all these planets conjunct the South Node, and the South Node being in Libra, is the Libra influence. Okay, because Libra, when in an unhelpful way, especially right now, can tend to hesitate. Being a Venus ruled sign, can tend to also overthink things. Here, being an air sign, can also tend to wait too much, and can also tend, as well with it being a relationship sign, to care too much about what other people think here that's happening. Okay. So do you see what's going on so far? Right, we're getting a very new, big way of thinking about our lives, dealing with relationships, and balancing our lives that prioritizes individual action, fast action towards things we're excited about, passionate about, that are in our best interest, that are going to help us move forward into a new experience of life here. Okay, but even though we're trying to do that, we're still feeling uncomfortable doing that, and not fully tapping into that, and feeling frustrated doing that, and like it's a little hard and scary, and we're still having difficulty tapping into forward momentum and action in our lives to put it in a better place, because we're still a little worried about stuff, maybe fearful, hesitating about things, maybe overthinking here, and just concerned too much about other people and what they're doing and what they're going to think here. That is holding us back. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here, which is going to be that this eclipse is making a square to Pluto here in Capricorn at this time, okay, where the sun and the moon are square Pluto. Now, this is also a bit difficult. This is a bit difficult because it is a square, which is a hard aspect, and because Pluto too can also be a bit more challenging as well than some of the other planets too, especially by hard aspect. Okay, what is the difficulty that you get with Pluto by a hard aspect? Well, Pluto wants permanent change and transformation and evolution. That to me is the highest expression of Pluto, of what it really desires. And I believe with the North Node here in Aries at this eclipse, it's permanent change and transformation towards action to do more things in our life, faster, quicker, easier, that we desire, that are going to be better for us, to get us in some new, better chapter of life that we've been trying to get to for quite some time. Okay, that's what Pluto here wants. But when by hard aspect, it tends to indicate resistance. There's still resistance here too, that necessary change and transformation and action that needs to happen here at this time. Okay, resistance, which I've said is a lot because of the Libra stuff. We're hesitating, holding back, caring too much about what other people think, over-complicating the matter here that's going on. And also too with fear. Pluto brings a lot of subconscious fear around doing things differently, fear around breaking a habit here that's going on. That can bring stuckness, right? When we're resisting necessary change, we can feel stuck and we can feel held back. And not only can this bring feeling stuck and held back, but Pluto can bring out anger in a lot of ways. Anger, and that can happen, maybe even disagreements and arguments with relationships here at this time. That can go on. A lot of just really intense and uncomfortable, strong, negative emotion here that's going on, especially if we're not doing what needs to be done or resisting doing it. You know, here that can be a bit of a challenge here that's going on, especially again with all this stuff here on the South Node, which is also unpleasant to have a bunch of planets around this other one of the eclipses as well. That can be quite hard. Okay. In addition to that, here I'll name some more things going on. At this time, we've also got Venus and Virgo at this time of the eclipse, making an opposition over here to Saturn and Pisces. This is also a bit of a challenge, okay? This is a bit of a challenge because Venus is in Virgo, a sign it just doesn't like to be in here, and therefore doesn't function that well in. And it's making an opposition, which is a hard aspect to Saturn, which can also be a little bit challenging here to deal with as well. So this is also very, very hard. What is the difficulty here about this? Well, Venus is a lot about ease. It's a lot about ease. It's a lot about beauty. It's a lot about rest and taking it easy. And it is the ruler of this solar eclipse here in Libra. And when Venus is in Virgo, making an opposition to Saturn, it's hard to rest. It's hard to take it easy. It's hard to feel beautiful here that's going on, and hard to feel that way because, again, Saturn can bring stuckness. We're feeling stuck, held back, not where we want to be in our lives at this time. And maybe too with the Virgo, because we're feeling overwhelmed. We're feeling overwhelmed, like there's a lot to do. do. There's a lot to do, right? Virgo's busy. There's a lot to do that we haven't been doing, that we've been hesitating on, for a while, or been avoiding. So this can also make us to feel very overwhelmed, very pressured in a lot of ways, scattered here, that there's just a lot we need to do that we haven't been doing, that we don't know how we're going to do, that feels like it might be hard to achieve here at this time that is going on. Okay. Difficult. But even though all of that's difficult, right? And there is something very difficult about this solar eclipse because it's on the south node, right? Square Pluto, all of that. I do think that there's a silver lining here to this eclipse that's going on that might be a little latent, might come after a lot of the anger and frustration here, but that I definitely think has the potential to emerge. And there is something good here. What is the good silver lining? Well, even though there's a lot of negative going on here, the first thing that I want to note is that this is an eclipse, right? Like there's that, and eclipses are not just your normal run of the mill, new moon or full moon. They bring powerful energy here to get us unstuck, here, and to get us in the right direction and put us on the right destined track. So even though there's something very uncomfortable about this eclipse and about what's going on, where we're feeling stuck, unable to move forward, still hesitating, holding back, worried about other people, I do believe there is a very strong energy to finally help us kick it, to finally help us kick this hesitation, kick this holding back that's going on, or this waiting too much on other people here, to get us going in the right direction by, of course, the sheer fact here that it's an eclipse. Not only do I think there's a lot of energy because of that, but I also think there's a lot of energy to help us do it, because we've got Mars here now in the sign of Scorpio. Here as well, which isn't terribly close to the eclipse, but is close enough to the eclipse as well. Here we've got Mars and Scorpio, and of course Mars here making that trine to Saturn as well, which I think can be a stabilizing force. Okay, because trines can be positive. What is the helpful thing that's going on here? Well, Mars, I need to note, the ancient astrologers used to consider Mars the ruler of Scorpio, and therefore at home there and very comfortable there before Pluto was later discovered. Okay, so I think Mars in some ways likes to be in Scorpio. A trine can be, again, helpful in some instances as well. What is the good thing going on? Well, Mars is about action. It's about desire, things we're really pushing for. Scorpio to me is a lot about shadow work in a lot of ways, going deep into our subconscious to deal with our demons, if you will. Not only is Scorpio about that, going deep into our subconscious to deal with our demons, it's also about change and transformation here in a lot of ways. And change and transformation translates into endings and beginnings, but really more so endings, because how can you begin something when you've got a lot of endings around, especially with the eclipse conjunct the south node here? Not only is Mars about and Scorpio about that, but I think Scorpio too can be very fearless, very courageous, not afraid to do what needs to be done, even if you're going to get dirty, or even if it's uncomfortable in the process. And I think the trine to Saturn is bringing more commitment to doing what needs to be done, more decisions here about it, and maybe even more focus and clarity here as well about the whole thing here that's going on at this time. So even though, right, we want to do more things in our life, move faster, and we're hesitating, holding back, still worried about other people, still frustrated, angry, upset, uncomfortable, intense emotion, I think there is something deep down within us that's emerging, an inner strength, so to speak, an inner courage, an inner fearlessness here that's not going to let us stagnate any longer. And that at this solar eclipse is going to do whatever it can to kick anything in the way of forward momentum towards our individual desires at this time, even if it's uncomfortable, and to beeline for it and to make more of the decisions to do that in some sort of way. What are these decisions? Maybe I need to get more clear on what are we getting more of the courage and the fearlessness to end or to let go of in order to move forward better. Okay, well, Mars is in Scorpio here, and we do have, again, the south node in Libra, where the eclipse is. So what I think, a few things, I'll give you a few thoughts, a few things that we're getting more of the courage to end. Here is an old perspective, Libra, that is making us think we have to wait, that we can't handle our situation, that we aren't strong enough to move forward. So we're getting more of the courage to end negative thought patterns that are telling us we can't move forward, or something's wrong with us, or it's not going to work out. Okay, not only are we getting more of the courage to end that, but we're also getting the courage to end hesitation, right? Or to end this feeling that we have to stay stuck, or that we always have to balance and organize our lives in a certain way. Because the truth is that there are a lot of different ways to balance your life. It doesn't have to be 50-50, right? Balance is whatever works for you to get what you need done. So ending this idea that balance has to be 50-50 a certain way, can only do things in a certain path here, and to open up more possibilities and more different ways of distributing our time and resources and doing things. Okay, not only are we ending an old way of thinking about balance, but again, with the Libra and the Scorpio, both relationship signs, we're ending an old way of doing relationships here that's no longer working for us. And some of you are gonna have to break up with people, right? A lot of you are ending relationships. We're gonna get more of the courage to end relationships that are keeping you stuck and not letting you do the things that you need to be doing here as well. So you're getting more of the courage to have the conversations, to let people know that your relationship's not working anymore. Okay, that's going on or needs to be significantly adjusted. Not only that, but Mars is in Scorpio. Scorpio does have to do with money as well. So some of you may also be getting more of the courage to end financial situations that are no longer working for you either, and allowing you to do these things that you need to move forward to. That is going on. Okay. So I think that's what's happening. Another thing that I want to note as well about the Mars and Scorpio trine Saturn here in Pisces, I do think this is going to happen naturally. Like, I do think there's just going to be something within you that's just going to get so fed up at the solar eclipse. That's going to be like, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to take my excuses. I'm not going to take my old ways of doing things. I'm not going to take this person stopping me from doing what I want to do. I'm not going to take this money situation running me around. I think it's going to happen naturally. I think your soul is just going to be like, it's time to cut the cords to all these things so I can move forward. But if it doesn't happen naturally, I'm good. That's the advice. Okay. If it doesn't happen naturally, where you get fed up with all of this stuff here and end these things so that you can take better action later, then the advice is for you to do that, is for you to do some deep soul searching, shadow work to confront your fear around action here, and to let things go with relationships, money, all of that, perspectives that's not conducive to forward action here, and to make the conscious choice to do so. Because when you do that, it's then going to open a whole new world for you. I think, especially by that lunar eclipse in Taurus, which I like a lot. I like what this eclipse is bringing, but I like the lunar eclipse too a bit better. And I think by that lunar eclipse in Taurus 2 weeks from now is going to help you start to feel like you're living a life more aligned with your purpose, more aligned with momentum here in the ways that it is that you need. Okay, and that's it. I think that's all I'm going to mention here in terms of the aspects in this video that the moon is making or that are happening around it. And because of that, I'm now just going to repeat all of that one last time without the astrological jargon. So hopefully you can get a better idea of what I'm saying. So let me do it now. What I think is going on at this new moon solar eclipse in Libra is that we're trying to get a very big and significant new way of thinking about our lives, balancing it or organizing it, and dealing with relationships that facilitates more fast action, momentum, freedom towards our own individual needs and desires, so that we can more quickly get a new and better and more exciting chapter in life on the road that we've really been working towards for quite some time. Okay, which I think is a very, very good thing. But even though we're trying to do that, and that's a very, very good thing here at this new moon solar eclipse in Libra, I think we're still feeling a little uncomfortable when it comes to moving forward fast and new experience of life, and are still feeling a little triggered by it here and a little bit stuck, especially because I think we're still hesitating, holding back, waiting too much on relationships and other people, and still have a little bit of fear, which is making us very upset and angry at ourselves, and possibly arguments with others here as well. That could just feel very, very, very intensely uncomfortable here at this time, and overwhelmed, like there's just so much to do here, and maybe we don't know what to do or don't know where to start here. That can go on. But even though there is a lot of intense frustration, anger, arguments that could go on here, at this time. I think something is emerging very big and strong deep within our soul to no longer tolerate this hesitation, our excuses, to no longer tolerate a balance of our lives that is not working for us, and action in our needs, and to not tolerate any relationships here that are holding us back from doing the things that it is that we want to do here, and to confront those and to end those things and change those things so that we can move forward no matter what it takes and no matter how hard it is. Okay, that's going on, which I think will be very helpful for us, especially 2 weeks from now, to feel more aligned at that full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. And if that does not emerge naturally, even though I think it will, that is the advice. The advice is for you to not be afraid to confront negative mindsets, habits, relationships that are holding you back, and to end and release those here so that you can move forward in the way that it is that you need, no matter how challenging it may feel in the moment. Okay. And that's it. Any other thoughts? There are a few other thoughts that I want to add here. Just random thoughts here before I do some other things in this video. Okay. And I think what I want to say, what I want to start by saying, right, is that there's something about this eclipse, okay, that's a lot about us wanting to act, forward momentum, new experience of life, but still feeling unable to do so because of hesitation, fear, over-complicating the matter, worrying about other people, right, that we need to more fully get rid of and beat at this time. Okay. What do I want to say here? Relationships. I think I want to focus a minute on that, because there's definitely, that's very clearly indicated here with a lot of the Libra influence. What that means is that quite a few of you are going to need to end relationships, break up with people, whether it's a friend or a parent or a romantic situation here or a business partner. A lot of you are going to need to end relationships at this time, or if not end them, permanently change them so that they're a completely different thing here, and a completely different thing that supports more of your individual needs and your individual interests here. Okay. That's a huge thing that is going on for a lot of you, and to be prepared. Maybe that's the first thing I want to say, be prepared for that, because some of you may be wanting to do that, or that may happen to some of you. You know, someone may want to break up with you or something like that. That's a huge thing that can happen. Another thing that I want to say is that if that happens to you with a relationship, it doesn't have to be relationship related, right? Some of you are going to get more of an internal thing that needs to let go of. Okay. And some of you are going to get more of a money thing. Okay. But a lot of you, relationships are going to be on the mind. So this is for you, and relationships tend to be very emotional for a lot of us. So if that happens to you, and this is a relationship situation, another piece of advice I want to give you is to either permanently change, stop going back to the way things were, to either permanently change to make the relationship different, or to be okay with it, relationships ending. Okay. I don't believe that all relationships are meant to be forever. Some relationships are just meant to teach us things so that we can move on, you know, learning and growing. Okay. And to be aware of that. Some relationships may end. It may happen to you. If it does, you have to permanently change for that relationship to be different or end it. Okay, there's no keeping the relationship the same way and persisting in that. A big change needs to happen here in order to come together. Okay, another thing that I want to say about relationships here is that there have been themes with us with relationships and needing to let relationships go, maybe for the past few weeks since Libra season and planets have entered the sign of Libra. However, I haven't really focused on it as much in some of my other moon videos here that you might have watched on YouTube, because I do believe that that was a big factor all of last year. If you watched my horoscopes then, while the new North Node was in Taurus and the South Node was in Scorpio. Okay, and a big thing that I talked about in a lot of my horoscopes last year was letting go of people here that no longer align with you. So another thing that I want to say is that even though relationships are indicated, and there definitely are some of you who are going to have relationships end or break up or need to significantly change relationships, no keeping it the same, they're going to have to change here. That hasn't been a primary concern for me and my horoscopes here, because I actually think that was more of a focus of last year here that's going on. Last year, a lot of you should have ended relationships with people here that's going on, and they shouldn't really be lingering. Okay. They shouldn't really be lingering. If you did what needed to be done last year, then this eclipse should be more about your mindset and some other things, maybe even money with Jupiter and Taurus, than about the relationship part. Okay. I think that was more last year than this year. Okay. Not only do I want to say that, But if you're dealing with relationships, right, this year, then what that means to me, right, is that maybe these are people that are long time past due, that you should have maybe ended the relationship or changed last year and didn't. But another thing that indicates to me is that if some of you are still dealing with relationships at this eclipse that weren't gotten rid of last year, right? If you didn't miss that, you should have done it then and you didn't, then what that indicates to me is that if there still are some people at this eclipse that you haven't gotten rid of in your life, maybe these are people that have been trying to adjust for you and have been more friendly, or maybe a little more platonic, if you will. Maybe these are relationships that have been a bit more friendly and a bit more platonic, which is why you didn't cut them out last year. Okay, so that's another weird thought that I have for some of you. Maybe again, I'm splitting hairs here, but there is a big thing going on with relationships, right? To recap here, some of you definitely are going to have an issue there. You're going to have to either end them or permanently change them. No going back to what it was, no keeping things the same. Definitely a theme here, but I haven't been focusing on it as much here and over the course of the past 2 weeks because I think most of the dirty work with the relationships really should have been done last year to get anyone out of your life who's not working for you. And whereas it shouldn't be really that big of a deal here, most of you should now be about the mindset and the hesitation and all of that. Okay, and if you're still having a big issue with relationships, what that means to me is that either you didn't get rid of them last year when you should have, or the people that you're dealing with now have really been trying to make it work for you, or been more platonic connections, which is why you didn't get rid of them last year, that still aren't fitting the bill or still aren't where they need to be, that now you need to make a decision on. You've been trying to work with me. That's why I've been keeping you hanging on here and didn't get rid of you last year. But I don't know if you're working with me enough, So either now you have to permanently change more to get in my favor, or this is going to end, okay? So keep that in mind here. Another thing that I want to note as well about the relationships here is that with the North Node in Aries, this is not a compromising, right? Libra is about compromise. Let's start there. The South Node is about not doing that anymore, not compromising. So I think the other thing that I want to say as well is that while compromise can be a great thing, it's just not the time as much for compromise that it was in the past. So if some of you have a relationship that has been trying to work with you, or is a more platonic relationship that still isn't quite together, okay, that now you need to make a decision on, my advice here is not for you to keep compromising your desires away in the hopes that maybe 6 months from now, or maybe 5 years from now, they'll get on board. My other thought here too is that if there's a platonic person or someone that's been trying to work with you, now is the time to stop waiting for them to come around and to stop compromising more in some big firm decision, especially with Venus opposite Saturn. Here, Mars trine Saturn needs to be made in order for that to no longer be a thing, okay? To no longer be waiting around for other people before you get your life in order, right? We're not waiting on other people. That's what we're not doing at this lunar eclipse, right? The solar eclipse that we're trying to get rid of. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, I also want to note too that can make more of the relationship stuff more frustrating here, more complicated. If you're like, well, they've kind of been working with me, but not enough, like, it can be really hard to let someone down that's been trying to make an effort, but not making enough. Okay, so I also want to note that can make it very hard of like, someone's been trying to make an effort with me, but just not enough. I don't want to like be me, just because the effort wasn't enough. And there's a part of me that I want to say, if it's not enough, it's not enough, no matter how hard they've been trying, And I also want to add, you're not a bad person for wanting more, that's better for you, and to not let other people guilt you into things, that, or to not feel guilt and shame, maybe with the Venus and Virgo here, for things that that you have been needing for a long time, because now's the time to speak up and to make sure that you're heard with some of that stuff that's going on. What else do I want to say? Hey, yeah, with relationships. Okay, another thought that I want to add to, maybe now I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction here, is that there's something about this, again, this eclipse, which is a lot about action, right? We're trying to act more quickly on the things that we desire here in order to move forward. That does include move forward on this new experience of life, right, that we've been trying to get to for quite some time. Okay, and this eclipse, right, I want to emphasize this bit, is trying to get us to move forward faster here in a more efficient way, or if not faster and just an easier, maybe fast isn't the word, but in just an easier way on this new experience of life, so that we're not feeling stuck, we're not feeling slow, we're feeling like it's just the right pace. It's trying to get us there to do that, because it's been a little slow here for some time. Okay, and I want to offer another thought on why here has this new experience of life been slow, and why now do we need to get things going here in a better way. And I want to say, I think that we've been hesitating, or we've been slow to build a new chapter in life, because we've been learning about ourselves and who we are and what's in our best interest, which again was another theme of all of last year with the North Node in Taurus. And even too, we've been learning about our emotions this year with the Pluto at the last degrees of Capricorn and all of that. So I want to note as well that we've been going slow, building a new chapter in life, I think, especially the past year or so, 2022, because we needed to go slow. That was then, okay? We needed to go slow then to know who we are, to know what we value, to know what's in our best interest, to know what feels good to us, to know what honors our emotions and what doesn't. And now that we know that, right, that's what last year was about, and some of this year, now that we know that, now we can pick up the speed, right? Or now we can start to move forward a bit more here as well, because now we know that, okay? So I hope to draw the parallel from last year to this year so that you can see we were going slow last year because we needed to learn more about ourselves, right? Because if you're going fast, doing all this stuff, it's hard to know who you truly are. And if you're going fast, it's easy to not know who you truly are, right? Especially if you don't have a firm foundation in there. And so we did that last year. And because we finally done that, known ourselves, now we can start to go faster. Hey, another thing that I want to note as well is that the hesitation around that, right? The hesitation around that, around going faster, I think is part of the transition between the two. It's hard to all of a sudden just stop something when you've been doing it for so long, right? And if for the past year or so, that's not like a hugely long time, but if for the past year or so, we've been needing to go slow to get to know ourselves and what's in our best interest and who we are, it's hard all of a sudden to just be like, oh, I'm good, now I can move fast. Oh, I'm good, now I can be easy. It's hard to make that transition here that's going on, because sometimes we need time to just let everything catch up of what's been going on, and because it's hard to come out of an old habit and into a different way, and because maybe there's some fear there of like, do I really know myself? Like, how well do I really know myself? Do I really know what I want? Do I really know what's in my best interest here that's going on? And to keep that in mind as well here, that's happening. And that's a lot too, just to put it in context of where this is coming from. Like, we are going, we're kind of needing to stop hesitating and wearing off the slowness, because now we know who we are and our life circumstances changing, and we need different things, different things now in order to get it going after learning a lot. And we got to make that transition. You got to make that switch now here, that we know what we need and trust that it's going to be fine, instead of waiting more for some of this stuff here to come together. So I want to say that. Another thought here too, while I'm on it as well, is that once we get going here and stop hesitating, right, and make the switch now to action, I think we're going to start doing a lot of things that maybe we've been wanting to do for a long time, because even though last year was a year of like slowing down to get to know ourselves here, I think that there were still a lot of things we wanted to do last year that we didn't, because we were slowing down trying to get to know ourselves. And I think there were maybe even a lot of things that we wanted to do before that here as well. So another thought that I want to add is, once we get unstuck, here, and stop hesitating and start to go for things, I think we're going to start doing things that really we've been wanting to do for a while here. They don't necessarily feel like new ideas per se. Okay, especially not with the solar eclipse on the South Node. They feel like old things we've been wanting to do for a while that we haven't been able to do, that now we're going to, after this, that now we're going to finally start able to do once we release the relationships and the hesitation and all of that stuff that's been keeping us stuck. Okay. And the reason why, remember, okay, the reason why we didn't do these things that now we know we need to do a few years ago is because we didn't know who we were then, right? We didn't know who we were then. We didn't know it was valuable to us. So it was hard to do things when you don't know what's important to you. And now we do. So now we need to get going here in order to bring more of this stuff together. Okay. So I hope that's also making sense too, is that once you stop the hesitating and waiting too much on other people and on these relationship things, then you're going to start to do more stuff in your life and really do stuff really you've been wanting to do for a while but haven't been doing. Not because you were a bad person back then or whatever, but because you didn't know what was important to you then, and now you do, and now it's time. Now it's time here to get moving. Here that's going on. Okay, and you got to trust. You got to trust that you have learned enough about yourself in the past few years in order to make the best decisions and actions that you need from here on out. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to say there. Because that's it, I'm now going to look at your inside degrees here before I take a look at your card, which I just got. But I'm going to pull your inside degrees up on the screen. They're not written by me, but they were written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings for each of these degrees from Spirit. And I like to just read his work because I think it's interesting and I think it's accurate a lot of times and very insightful. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to look at the 21 degree Libra here in this video because that is the actual degree of the new moon solar eclipse in Libra, and it's the one I felt was the most relevant. But please feel free to look at the others if you would like. You can pause this video, 20 Libra, 22 Libra, because they can both be relevant as well, but I'm just going to focus on 21. So we're going to do that. Here, I'm going to read it. It says, a Mobius strip of yes into no into yes. Yes is primarily the eager embrace of sense life and a rapture of release. The no is not being able to handle, even remotely, the social repercussions of being viscerally empowered. Okay, I like this. Here, to me, the way I make sense of it is like, right, the North Node in Aries is the yes, the South Node in Libra is the hesitation no. So what I think is happening, maybe now to put this in my own words, is that at this solar eclipse in Libra, we're trying to follow our inner yes towards, yes, this does light me up. Yes, this is my best interest. Yes, I do want this. Yes, I am excited. Yes, I do want to act. But even though we want to follow our inner yes, which will be very good for us, there is an inner no that's scared here, and that is holding us back. Okay, at the same time, making us kind of at cross purposes with ourselves. Yes, no. I want to do this. I want to do this. No. Okay, and not only does it say that, but to me, it says that the reason why we have an inner yes and an inner no fighting at cross purposes is because of fear, right? The social not being able to handle the social repercussions of being empowered. I think it's because of fear. We're afraid of doing things and of whether or not we can achieve these things we set out for. Maybe we're fear of failure or fear of all of that. Maybe we're also afraid too of what other people are going to say, social repercussions, relationships, what relationships are going to say if we do what we want, and if we have to, if we get in an argument, if we have to let them go. Maybe we're afraid of that's going on. Maybe we're afraid too of our own power, and of how strong we are, especially after feeling maybe disempowered for many years of our life prior to this. So I think there's a lot of fear going on around failure or success or being empowered or our abilities or our relationships and what they're going to say here. That's hard. That really a lot of shadow work is needed around that I talked about earlier. Okay, let's read on. It says the further yes is at last being able to embrace unreservedly the self that got lost in the world and the world that got lost in the self. Okay. What that brings to my mind is there's how do I want to say this? Over the course of the past few years, I think there has been a lot of loss in a lot of people's lives, especially since the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in 2020 here, and just things not going according to plan in the way that they might like here. And I think that a lot of these endings and a lot of this loss over the course of the past few years has made it hard for a lot of people to feel good about themselves and the world and what they do want and to go for that here. And so I think that there's also a message in the sentence here that I have highlighted about us wanting to or needing to recover the part of ourselves before loss happened, before a lot of loss happened when we were joyful here, and to reclaim who we are, our wholeness here, and to come back to that, because I think that's also what needs to happen here as well. Okay, let's read on. It says, until this final reckoning, which I think is of us coming back home, feeling whole, Okay, the no wreaks havoc. You thrash around in a frenzy of trying to spin away from reflected images and impressions. You just cannot bear to hold still and be pinned by ideas about who you are and who you are not. An elemental power and spiral vortex action seeks to consume all the false selves and to be so authentic that each breath of experience is purely there with no interpretive filter whatsoever. This power ultimately brings everybody to the point of no longer putting up with being trapped in shallow frequencies, right? And sometimes Libra can get the reputation of being a little shallow and burst everything open, or else is willing to die trying. So not only is this saying to me, this degree, that like there's a part of us that wants to move forward, doing things we like, our inner yes. And there's also another part of us scared and hesitating, our inner no, at odds with each other, really because of fear of failure or success or stepping into our power or what other people are going to say. Here that's going on, but that this inner yes and no is fighting each other here. And at odds with one another, that is waiting for us to find wholeness or to come back to wholeness before so much loss happened here at this time. And that will evoke, I believe, will evoke a kind of elemental power here in order for us to break through these limitations, to break through our inner no here and to be who we are and to break free from anything keeping us stuck and move forward in the way that we need. So I think this inside degree is also very hopeful for me, to me at least, that even though we are at war with ourselves, that we are going to overcome that. We are going to overcome that here and stop indulging the negative frequencies, right, to get on a better and higher path so that we can move forward. Okay, so I liked that and thought that was very relevant. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull your card. So let's look at that. Your card is the Eight of Pentacles here, reversed. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the King of Swords upright. The first thought, the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles is when it went upright. I pulled it reversed here. Is a card of hard work and effort here, and being meticulous. She's studying this pentacle here and it's reversed, so I got the sense of not doing that, of not putting in the hard work and not putting the effort. If there's something in, or maybe to put it another way, if there's something in your life right now here that is holding you back, that's holding you back and bringing you down here and making you feel bad about yourself and making you feel like it's so much work and effort, I think you got to let it go. I think that's the thought here. You have to let it go here, whether it's a person or a situation, you have to let it go and you have to go towards the path that's easier, that's more fun, that's more restful, that's more enjoyable here, especially with the North Node in Aries at this time. Okay, stop making things harder for yourself and indulging people in things that are making it harder, and go towards where things are easy and fun and are happening more nicely, and towards what feels fun and what feels good to you, because I think that that's going to bring it together. Okay. Stop letting things hold you back and bring you down. Okay. Another thought here too, right, that I'm getting, which obviously is coming with the interpretation, is like stop over-complicating things. I think that some of you are also over-complicating the matter, because maybe some of you heard that and are like, okay, I want to go towards, I want to let go of anything that's hard and a lot of work, and I want to go towards what's easy and fun, but like, how do I do that? Maybe some of you might be thinking that's what's easy and fun is hard and what's hard is easy. I don't know, there's something like that. And I think that there's a part of me too that's like, some of you are overthinking it here about what's going on. You're overthinking it, and if you stop overthinking and if you tap into your intuition and your gut, which I think are more Aries things, the answer is going to become clear. So that's another thought here. Stop going with what's hard and what's a lot of work, and instead go with what's easy and fun. And if you're having problems discerning what that is for you, turn off the mind, tap into your gut and your emotion, your heart, your instinct, your intuition, and take that answer over the other one, because I think that's going to get you more in the right place here that it is that you need. Okay, you want to go with what's simpler here. Okay. Okay, what else? You know, the King of Swords here we have in the bottom of the deck upright, to me, can be very clear and very decisive about things too. And I think that's also needed, right? Because the Libra can be indecisive, and that's what the South Node we're trying not to do. So I think another thought here that I have is, once you have realized, right, what's easier and fun for you, and stopped overworking and doing the hard thing, and have listened to your gut in order to tell you, be clear about that with yourself and others, and be decisive, and stop wavering and hesitating and going back and forth and flip-flopping. Okay, because that's annoying for everybody here, and because that's just going to keep you stuck even more. That's a habit that we need to get rid of. Okay. Be clear and forthright. And two, sometimes the swords can be about truth, you know, and stand in your truth of whatever that is, and don't let other people talk you out of it, right? Because that's another thought here as well, with the Libra being a relationship sign, and relationships, again, not necessarily being the most helpful here too. Relationships might try to talk you out of things, you know, at this time, of like, oh, don't do this, you know, what about that? And so I think that's another thought. Be very careful whose advice you listen to here, and don't let someone talk you out of something that you know deep down in your heart and soul is the right thing for you and the right path that's going on. And stay clear in that, and don't stray from what you know to be true, because I think that's going to help you get on the path that it is that you need. Okay, and I think that's what I've got here for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. I wish you all the best for the solar eclipse here, and I will talk to you on the next video 2 weeks from now at that full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus.